Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everybody. Today I have a review for Generation Select's Decepticon Red Wing. Red Wing is the second War for Cybertron Siege co-branded Selects toy that has come out, following the Combat Megatron toy. And he was actually accidentally revealed through that toy's listing when its product page first came up. You know, if you looked at the bottom, instead of saying, talking about this Voyager class Megatron, they actually were calling out a Voyager class Red Wing. Now, Hasbro went and fixed it, but not before a few people took note of it. Now, funnily enough, I had kind of forgotten about Red Wing, forgotten about his existence. So when I saw the name Red Wing, I thought maybe this was going to be an American name for one of the Buster and Hydra duo, because you got Blackwing, right? So Red Wing made sense in my mind. Of course, people were quick to point out that Red Wing was an actual character, and I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. For anyone not familiar with this character, his existence was kind of the result of a bunch of miscommunication between Hasbro, the Collectors Club, Takara, and eHobby around the already established character Sunstorm. I won't get into too much on that. You can always look it up on the wiki if you want. But basically, it created this weird situation where there were like two Sunstorm-looking Seekers in the club comic there. One with the final colors of the character, which is like a orangish yellow, and then one that was like a really dark orange, which ended up looking more red due to the lighting and everything. So eventually that character took on a life of its own as a new Seeker named Red Wing. And Red Wing was featured again in the comics, utilizing the classics Seeker design, but there was never a toy of him made. I think it was planned at some point, but it never really happened. So Hasbro, through their Selects line, decided to surprise everybody and finally give us a figure of the Seeker Red Wing. So, little history lesson. This Red Wing is obviously not the classics mold, but is indeed a remold of the Siege Starscream toy. Really, he's a redeco of Thundercracker, though he's been released before Thundercracker, incidentally. I managed to snag him during this really brief window of time where he was listed on Target's website before he was pretty quickly taken down. So I think there was an accident on their part, but if you managed to get an order in before they took the listing down, they still honored it, and they went and shipped this guy to my local store. And yeah, lo and behold, I have Red Wing. So if you've been to my channel, you know the MO. We're going to take a look at the toy's packaging, take a look at the instructions, and then review the figure itself in all of its different modes, do comparisons where warranted, and then at the very end I'll give my final thoughts. So let's get started. All right, his box is what you come to expect from the Selects line now. It's in kind of a plain mailer type box. It's got this nice graffiti effect on it. It's got a label showing what this toy is. The official designation for this is War for Cybertron Generation Selects 02. Maybe that's Generations Siege 02. Not really sure, but the Selects toys for the Siege line have their own numbering outside of the usual scheme, so nothing really crazy about this box. You open it up. It's got the tray on the inside, which is interesting, and it's got all this design work. And people noticed when Combat Megatron came out that you can invert this box. You can unfold it, flip it around, it becomes like a little stand for your figure. And this one utilizes the same design as Combat Megatron does, which makes sense because they're both Voyagers. The two deluxe Selects toys that came out in between these, which were Red Swoop and Ricochet, they just had, it was pretty much all black inside with an Autobot symbol. So I guess they're just kind of doing these designs by size class, I would imagine. Nothing too crazy to see there. Makes for good storage if you ever want to put them back in the box. Should hold them pretty securely. Right, the instructions are your normal Voyager size instructions. See this render of Red Wing on the front, and you can see he's got this smirking face going on. I mentioned that he's a read echo of Thundercracker. Thundercracker was the first toy revealed to have this new retooled face, vice the more serious expression that Starscream has. And some people found that odd. You would think Starscream would be the one to have a little sneering smirk on his face, with Thundercracker being the more serious character, which I can kind of agree with. But either way, I just think it's cool that there's some variety and they're not all just the exact same mold. So yeah, they opted for this face, which makes sense given the character's personality that they decided to bless him with in the comics. Alright, so on the inside here, just shows how to transform him from robot mode to jet mode. Go ahead, flip it around. It's got usual cross cells with the smaller size classes and how they interact with the toy. And then you have the little weapon readout. And he's just got the one type of weapon. This is the HPI Null Ray laser launcher. So pretty much just like Starscream. And yeah, that's the instructions. And now we'll take our first real good look at his vehicle mode. He shares the same Tetrajet design that the Starscream toy has, which is, if you don't know, based off of the Cybertronian alt mode that the Seekers had in the pre-Earth episodes of the original cartoon. It's modified from that design a bit. It's not exactly the same, but like I said with Starscream, I kind of like this version more. It's very sleek, very solid looking. Doesn't have anything in the way of moving parts, pretty much just a flying brick. It's got the little null rays here under the wings. Pretty minimal dedicated robot kibble. Obviously these are arms and legs, but they're nice and blocky, so they just look like part of the vehicle. Of course, you still got the chest on the back, which is very obviously a Seeker chest. So that's probably the worst part about this alt mode. They just really couldn't find a better way to hide that. Always love the boosters on the back. Those are really cool. Alright, for a quick comparison, here he is alongside Starscream's vehicle mode. You can see they've got very similar paint applications. They didn't do a whole lot as far as differentiating their color schemes. Biggest difference I can see is that the top of his vehicle mode gets black accents, where Starscream's just remains gray. Obviously his chest blends in with the vehicle mode better since they're both red, whereas Starscream's sticks out a little bit more. I think one thing I didn't really like about Starscream was the application of his battle damage paint. I'm not one of the people that are against the battle damage paint itself, but I think some attempts look better than others. I always thought Starscream just looked like a little too heavily applied, a little too splotchy. It looks more dirty than damaged. Red Wing, you can see they were a little more sparing with the applications, and I think it makes for a better design. Just I feel like it works better on him. That's personal preference. You might like Starscream's effects a little bit more. Yeah, so 2 alien-looking flying bricks with very cool designs. Can't hate it. Okay, now we're going to do the transformation to robot mode. So first thing you do, go ahead and detach the weapons and just set them aside. Alright, now everyone was probably wondering, is this guy's chest piece as bad as Starscream's? If you don't know, Starscream's chest piece is notoriously very floppy and prone to just pop off. So, that was kind of the big question in everyone's mind with the subsequent releases of this mold. Are they going to fix that? Well, you'll see. So we're going to go ahead, kind of pop off said chest piece. And look, nice and tight. Isn't coming off the hinges. So whatever they did, or they modified here, which I think maybe they made these holes a little bit bigger on the inside to make for a better fit. Could be wrong. Fixed the problem. I mean, the only issue I really have with the Starscream toy, the whole floppy loose chest thing, has been completely remedied, so that's awesome. We're going to take this booster bit here, we're going to pull it off, swing it all the way up, and plug it into that little rectangular hole there. Nice and firm, like that. It is painted, so, be a little careful. Alright, the wings, you're going to pop off, they attach down here. They're also kind of tucked in under here, so you're gonna kind of lift up and out. Just bring those up. And then this whole bit on a double hinge, so you just lift it up to give some space. The arms, they're attached to the legs, so you're gonna go ahead and remove them. Swing them up. The same thing here. Swing them kind of down and out, get them out of the way. The legs, you just swing out. And again, I always love this. It's a cool little spring-loaded panel for the transformation. It's really neat. The feet, you're just gonna open up all the way, front and back. Give them a 180 at the waist here, like so. All right, now you're gonna bring the chest down, the hinge, make sure it plugs in all the way. The arms, you're gonna open this panel up, like so. Extend out, and swing the fists down all the way before you close it. The same thing on this side. Send them out, close, cool. All right, most of the way there. Now his head, I'm gonna swing out. This little panel in the back of it, you're gonna unplug from the back of his head because it's slotted in there. Kind of leave it pointing straight back like so. Now his nose cone here splits like that. Swings up to become his little shoulder pylon things. And now you gotta get this just right. You gotta swing this down all the way. You need these slots to connect here, while also getting these tabs into these little notches right here. So kind of a two-part movement. Not too hard to do though. A little bit of wiggling. There, give it nice just like that. And then you just kind of position the wings. Get him to stand up, nice and neat. And then lastly, take his null rays and attach them to his upper arms. And there you have it. This is Red Wing's robot mode. You can see that little smirking face there. Looks very cool. At first I wasn't sure how I felt about Red Wing, just because, you know, he's a red seeker and Starscream has a lot of red on him. I wasn't sure if there's going to be enough to set them apart. But once you get him all put together, he really does stand out. You know, he's got a lot of red on him. More so than any other seeker, really. Unless you want to argue Thrust is red, but I think he's more of like a burgundy color. Just like Starscream, he's got all of the posability that you would want. Head's on a ball joint. Shoulders are hinge and swivel, plus they swing forward and back a bit. Bicep swivel, double hinge for the elbows. The fists do rotate on a swivel, which is awesome. Got full waist articulation, hinge and swivel hips. It's got oh yeah, it does have thigh swivel right there. Single bend knees, and they can bend really deep because of that whole spring-loaded panel. And then he's got ankle tilt. So he's got the whole package. Definitely can't say this guy lacks reposability. Uh-oh. I just noticed there's a little bit of paint scraped off there. That sucks. That is unfortunate. I don't know if I did that or if it was like that and I just noticed it. Yeah, I mean, these upper legs are painted pieces. So when you rotate them, there's a possibility that these hip bits can scrape some paint off, so just be careful. As far as battle damage, you know, it's mostly on his shins here. And then he's got some... Oh, his arms backwards, jeez. Some on his forearms, actually quite a bit on his forearms, and then a little bit on his chest. And here is Starscream's robot mode for comparison. You can see, you know, aside from the head sculpt, everything about them is the same. Tolerance on both these guys are pretty stellar. Starscream's little flappy chest isn't really an issue here because it's pegged in, so it doesn't move or anything, which is great. The only issue I have with Starscream in this mode on my copy is that this forearm for whatever reason, doesn't want to close all the way. No matter what I do, it's always open a little bit. Not really sure why. Red Wing doesn't have that issue, luckily. So yeah, it is cool seeing these two together. We know that a Thundercracker is on the way. We know that a Skywarp's on the way as part of a box set. There is a rumor, based on some supposed leaks, that we might be getting like Nova Storm, Ion Storm, and Sunstorm at some point. That particular rumor, I'm not totally sure if it's true. It was released along with some other ones, which I plan on covering in a video. Of course, I'd welcome it. I missed out on a lot of the old club exclusive Seekers, so I wouldn't mind a second chance to get my hands on those obscure characters. But yeah, there's not too much left to say about this toy that I haven't already said about Starscream. I really love this mold. I'm happy to get this really obscure character who has his own very unique appearance. You know, this mix of like very bright, like whitish grays and bright reds with a dark black color. Just, may not have the highest level of color variety like Starscream does, but it does help him stand out. So I do recommend picking this guy up if you don't mind double dipping on the Seeker mold. If you're someone like me that is perfectly okay with collecting all the Seekers, then this is going to be great for you. I don't know when he's going to be back on sale. Like I said, Target pulled the listing. There hasn't been anything else said about him. They might be saving it for like San Diego Comic-Con or something. Not really sure why Target got these in stock of all places. But hopefully he'll be back out in the wild soon and more people will be able to pick him up. Not sure how many of them actually got delivered before they cut it off. Imagine maybe a couple hundred at most. Not entirely sure. So yeah, pick this guy up whenever you can. Selects, luckily, unlike the old club exclusives, they retail for normal size class value, so he's $30. He fixes, the main issue that they have with Starscream, which is a huge plus. He's got a different face, so he'll add some variety to your display. I'm really hoping this chest fix that they gave him is a universal with all the future Seekers, and Starscream was the only one to get shortchanged like that. So I know I like this guy, but what I really want to know is whether or not you like him. I'd love to hear what you have to say about Red Wing in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you're enjoying this content. If you want to see more reviews like this one or any of my other Transformers related content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. Thanks for joining me at this look at a really cool exclusive of a really obscure character. And with all that said, I'll see you next time.